Sometimes, a single choice changes everything. One night, a broke single father stopped to save a wounded dog on the side of the road. He thought it was just a good deed. But hours later, a group of Hell's Angels stood at his door, and what happened next? No one could believe. Before we start into today's story, let us know in the comments. Where in the world are you watching from? And if our stories touch your heart, please subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach our first 1,000 subscribers and bring you more inspiring stories every day. The wind rattled through broken blinds as Michael Graves, a single father in his mid-30s, stared at an overdue electricity bill. His small rented house in rural Ohio barely kept out the winter chill. His son, Oliver, 8 years old with wide brown eyes, slept on the couch wrapped in 2 blankets because his room was too cold. Michael had worked odd jobs all week, hauling junk, fixing fences, but it never seemed enough. He wasn't lazy, he was exhausted. His wife had left years ago, saying she wanted more from life. Michael stayed, choosing love for his boy over pride. Still, the world felt merciless. That night, as he drove home from a late shift at the diner, headlights cutting through icy fog, he thought only about the sandwich he'd saved for Oliver. He didn't know the road ahead would bring him face to face with danger, loyalty, and an unexpected redemption born from a wounded animal lying in the dark. It was nearly midnight when Michael's truck sputtered down the empty highway. Snowflakes danced in the air, catching the beams of his headlights. That's when he saw it, a dark shape lying on the roadside shoulder. At first, he thought it was debris, but then he noticed movement. His chest tightened. Pulling over, he stepped into the freezing air. There, tangled in weeds, was a massive dog, its black fur matted with blood, chest rising shallowly. Michael crouched low. "Hey, buddy, hang on." The animal's eyes flickered open, wild but desperate, then softened when it sensed his voice. Its leather collar was thick with heavy studs. Michael knew instantly this wasn't a stray. Whoever owned this dog had power and trouble. He glanced at the highway empty. A voice inside whispered, "Don't get involved. Walk away." But another voice, softer, stronger, came from his own son's memory. "Dad, heroes don't leave anyone behind." He couldn't. He lifted the dog into his truck, not knowing it would change everything. The drive back was slow, the dog's labored breathing filling the silence. Michael kept glancing at Oliver's old blanket, wrapped around the animal. His son's face flashed in his mind, how he looked at him with unshaken trust. That trust demanded he do the right thing. Pulling into his driveway, the truck's brakes squealed. He carried the heavy animal inside, muscles trembling. Oliver stirred awake, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, is that a bear?" Michael chuckled softly, hiding his worry. "Just a dog, buddy. A big one." The boy knelt, gently patting its head. The dog winced but didn't pull away. Michael cleaned its wound with what little supplies they had, old towels, peroxide from the bathroom. His hands shook, but his heart was steady. The dog whimpered, then rested its head against Oliver's small knee. That small gesture pierced Michael's chest. In the quiet, he whispered, "Who do you belong to, big guy?" He didn't know yet that the answer carried fire, steel, and a brotherhood feared by many. Morning light bled through faded curtains. The dog stirred, rising slowly, revealing scars that weren't just from one night. Someone had fought for this animal before. Michael poured cereal for Oliver, setting a smaller bowl on the floor filled with scraps. The boy laughed when the giant dog lapped hungrily. They named him Tank. Michael thought about calling animal control, but something in his gut stopped him. This wasn't a dog the pound could handle. Tank carried weight, the kind tied to men who didn't forgive. By noon, Michael stepped outside to stack firewood, when he noticed tire tracks at the edge of his driveway. Heavy, fresh, not from his old truck. His pulse quickened. He knew small towns had big ears and word traveled fast. Saving Tank wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a gamble. That evening, while Oliver watched cartoons, Michael stared at the road, unease growing. He didn't know yet that the knock on his door would come much sooner than he imagined. The first knock was soft, almost polite. Michael frowned. He opened the door to find 3 men in leather jackets, patches stitched in red and black. Their eyes were sharp, assessing. The tallest one spoke, voice gravelly. "You got something that belongs to us." Michael's chest tightened. Tank padded into the room, tail wagging weakly. The men's faces softened for a moment, relief breaking through their hardened shells. Then the leader stepped closer. "You saved him." Michael nodded, unsure. The man extended his hand, scarred and firm. "Name's Razor. We don't forget debts." Michael shook it, feeling the weight of a pact he hadn't chosen. Razor glanced around the small, worn house, at Oliver sitting cross-legged on the floor. His gaze lingered, unreadable. "We'll be in touch," Razor said, turning. As their motorcycles roared to life, Michael stood frozen at the door, Tank pressed against his leg. Gratitude hung in the air, but so did danger. That night, sleep never came. Michael lay awake, staring at cracks in the ceiling, Tank curled at his feet. What did "in touch" mean? He had no desire to be part of their world. He just wanted to keep Oliver safe. But the biker's handshake had carried weight, an unspoken bond. In the morning, Michael found a note tucked under his door. "You got heart. That don't go unnoticed." R. His stomach nodded. At the diner where he worked, whispers followed him. Regulars muttered about Hell's Angels spotted near his place. His boss pulled him aside, voice low. "You bringin' trouble here?" Michael shook his head, shame burning his skin. He didn't ask for this. But at home, Oliver giggled as Tank chased him clumsily in the yard. For a moment the world felt normal. Yet every motorcycle engine echoing in the distance made Michael glance over his shoulder. Gratitude from men like Razor could be as heavy as a threat. Days passed. Tank's wounds healed, but tension grew. On Saturday evening, as Michael carried groceries to his truck, 2 strangers cornered him in the parking lot. Their jackets bore rival patches, different colors, different club. One smirked, stepping close. Word, as the bikers left, Michael's hands trembled on the steering wheel. He didn't want their money. He wanted his life back. But fate wasn't asking. The envelope sat on the kitchen table like a loaded gun. Oliver asked about it, but Michael brushed him off. He paced the room, Tank watching with loyal eyes. Money could pay the bills, fix the truck, keep the lights on. But it wasn't clean. Taking it meant stepping into their world. That night, he sat by Oliver's bed, whispering, "I just want to protect you, buddy. That's all." The boy stirred, murmuring, "Tank protects us too." Michael's chest ached. Outside, another motorcycle passed by slowly, its headlight lingering on the house before fading into darkness. He realized then it wasn't just about the dog anymore. His life, his son's safety, were woven into a web of loyalty and danger. By morning, Michael decided to return the money. But when he opened the door, the envelope was gone. In its place lay a patch, Hell's Angels insignia stitched in red thread. His hands shook. This wasn't a gift. It was a claim. Michael tried to stay invisible. He worked, cooked, helped Oliver with homework, and prayed the world would forget him. But the world had other plans. One evening, while repairing his truck, he noticed Tank stiffen, growling low. A black SUV slowed outside his house, windows tinted. Paused too long, then drove off. Michael's gut churned. The next day, Razor showed up unannounced, stepping onto the porch with heavy boots. Oliver froze, clutching Tank's fur. Razor crouched, looking the boy in the eye. "You're safe, kid. Long as your old man remembers who's watchin'." Michael bristled. "I didn't ask for this." Razor straightened, voice flat. "You didn't. But you earned it. That don't go away." His gaze softened slightly. "We protect our own. You proved you're one of us when you picked Tank up off that road. Michael wanted to scream. Instead, he closed the door, his son's small hand gripping his. Safety had never felt so complicated. Weeks bled into each other. Michael found himself caught in a strange paradox. Bikers watching his house like guardians, and enemies lurking in shadows. One afternoon, at the diner, a local sneered, tossing coins on the counter. "Guess you're big time now. Got angels watching your back." Michael clenched his jaw, shame crawling under his skin. He never wanted to be feared. He just wanted dignity. That night, Oliver asked, "Dad, are we in a gang now?" Michael knelt, gripping his son's shoulders. "No, buddy. We're just us. Always just us." Yet even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true anymore. Outside, Tank barked at passing headlights. The dog seemed to sense threats Michael couldn't see. He realized then, saving Tank hadn't just saved the animal. It had drawn lines of loyalty, and those lines were now carved into his family's life. He couldn't erase them. He could only hope to bend them toward something better. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday. Michael returned home to find his front door ajar. Panic shot through him. "Oliver!" He rushed inside. His son sat frozen on the couch, Tank growling at two strangers standing in the living room. Their jackets bore rival club insignia. One sneered, "Relax, we're just sending a message." Michael's fists clenched. Before he could act, Tank lunged, teeth bared, forcing the men back. Sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors must have called. The intruders bolted. Michael gathered Oliver, trembling but safe. Minutes later, Razor and his crew arrived, fury etched on their faces. "They crossed a line," Razor muttered. He looked at Michael, almost proud. "Your dog's got more loyalty than most men I know." Michael wanted no part of their war, but as he held Oliver tight, he realized the truth. He couldn't run anymore. The storm was here, and whether he liked it or not, he was in it. After the break-in, Razor insisted on stationing men near Michael's house. Their bikes lined the street at night, engines rumbling like restless thunder. Neighbors stared. Rumors spread. Michael felt trapped, his privacy swallowed. At the diner, customers avoided him. Even Oliver's teacher asked if everything was all right at home. Shame burned Michael's chest, but beneath it grew something unexpected. Resolve. He couldn't change the past, but maybe he could use it. That evening, he spoke to Razor. "I don't want my son growing up afraid. If you owe me anything, help me get out of this mess. Not deeper in." Razor studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You got spine, Graves. Maybe too much for your own good." For the first time, Michael saw not just a biker, but a man who understood what it meant to protect family at any cost. That fragile understanding lit a path neither expected. Razor proposed a deal. "You walk away from this life, fine, but you don't walk away with nothing. We'll settle it clean." Michael didn't understand. Razor continued, "Tank chose you. That means something. You keep him. You take the cash. Consider it respect. Then we make sure no one touches you or your boy again." Michael hesitated. Accepting meant binding himself to their promise. Refusing meant staying vulnerable with no allies. He looked at Oliver, who sat on the porch steps, stroking Tank's fur. The boy's laughter cut through the tension like sunlight. Michael swallowed hard. "All right, but I don't want your war. I just want a safe home for my son." Razor's lips twitched into the faintest smile. "Then that's what you'll have." It wasn't peace, but it was a truce carved out of respect. A fragile line between two worlds, family and brotherhood, innocence and steel. For a while, life seemed to balance. Michael paid bills with the cash, caught up on rent, even fixed the old furnace. Oliver slept soundly for the first time in months, Tank at his feet like a guardian. At the diner, whispers still lingered, but fewer dared speak them aloud. Razor kept his word, no enemies came close again. Yet Michael's heart carried unease. He wondered if he'd traded one kind of prison for another. One evening, as he tucked Oliver in, the boy asked softly, "Dad, are we safe now?" Michael brushed his hair back, forcing a smile. "Yeah, buddy, we're safe." But in his chest, doubt gnawed. Safety bought with loyalty was still fragile. And Michael knew, one spark, one misstep, could burn it all down. He didn't yet realize that spark was already on its way, carried by shadows from Razor's own past. Came late one night. Tank's bark shattered the silence, deep and urgent. Michael rushed outside to see flames licking the edge of his truck. A Molotov cocktail still burned on the gravel. Oliver's terrified cry echoed behind him. Michael grabbed a hose, dousing the fire with shaking hands. In minutes, Razor's crew thundered onto the street, weapons in hand, scanning the darkness. Razor's jaw clenched. "They're testing us." Michael's heart pounded. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was war spilling into his front yard. He snapped, "I can't raise my son like this." Razor looked at him, something raw in his eyes. "Then help me end it. One last stand. After that, you're free." Michael stared, torn between fear and resolve. He wasn't a fighter. He was a father. But as he held Oliver close, he knew. Sometimes fathers had to fight, not for pride, but for the right to live in peace. Razor's last stand wasn't what Michael expected. No guns, no brawl. Instead, Razor arranged a meeting with the